Welcome to this edition of Morgan You Asked For podcast. New Year's Day, first day of 2025. Happy New Year, Morgan You Asked For podcast family. Hopefully the new year is great. Hopefully you had a great 2024 and just looking forward to the next year. Many more podcasts to come. Tonight I am going to be solo. Trev couldn't join us tonight. Tune in. We are going to try to do one tomorrow after the Sugar Bowl. Most of you know the Sugar Bowl was postponed to tomorrow with the attack in New Orleans early this morning with the guy driving through crowd and stuff. Terrorist attack is what it's being called. So thoughts and prayers to everybody affected by that, and hopefully that gets taken care of the way it needs to be taken care of, and we can limit that stuff. You're never going to stop that stuff, but hopefully that stuff can be limited. It's happening too much, and we need to get a handle on that. And as a country and as a society, we can do better, and I hope that does happen. Again, just thanks everybody for listening, tuning in to any way you do listen to our podcast. We do ask you, please rate, review, subscribe on your favorite player. It really does help. It's amazing. Just looking at numbers and stuff on some of the different ones that do get listened to more than others. And then, just a couple others. Thanks to Steve Shetler Media and Steve Shetler. Every week, a couple hundred people or so. There's been times there's been more. There's times there's less, but I kind of averaged it out. A couple hundred people a week listen. We do appreciate Steve putting us on and letting us be a part of his group, and we do thank that. Thank you very much, Steve. And then on the ones we do live on Facebook, we do get a little more feedback there, and usually 100 to 200 people listen and watch that as well. So thank you to those people as well. Now, a couple things here. I'm just going to kind of review the Pop Tarts Bowl. Most everybody knows I went down there, and in a few minutes here, I'm going to talk about that and my trip down there. I've got a story for you, but I do want to talk about the Pop Tarts Bowl real quick. I know it was several days ago, but I think Trev and I are going to talk more about the playoff games and everything, but I just want to talk about the Pop Tarts Bowl. First, I want to give whatever the Pop Tarts Bowl marketing team is, who it is, who's deciding it, who was responsible for the in-game atmosphere, and whatever Pop Tarts is paying to be a sponsor of that bowl, they are getting every dollar's worth that they are spending. They leaned into it. Bowl games are fun. It's exhibitions. It's entertainment. They leaned into it, and it was awesome. Wildberry Pop-Tart was the MVP of the entire game, not Rocco Beck. He was fun everywhere. They leaned into last year's Pop-Tart being resurrected and a funeral for him and watching the new guy go down. Cinnamon Roll was the one that did get 8 at the end of the game after the Cyclones did win 42-41 in a super exciting game. 5 touchdowns in the first quarter. There was no defense played until the second half, and then just a little bit of defense there. Cam Ward sits at halftime, doesn't come in. The crowd was chanting for him to come back in, especially in that last drive to give them a chance to win with a field goal. He still did not. I think that was the plan all along. I don't think it was he went at halftime and said, I'm done. I think it was a plan to play for half. I'm sure he got some money to play. And I don't blame anybody. It's the reason it happened. Iowa State had players go through warm-ups and then take off their pads and everything and then sit out, which isn't good either. If I'm a gambler, which I do gamble, I make bets. I did not make a bet on that game. And being in Florida, there was only, I think, Hard Rock bet was the only one you could do, and I don't have that app. So I couldn't make any bets in Florida when I was down there anyway. But that's bad. At least if going into the game, they're not playing like other people have said and everything. But Cam Ward said he was going to play. The Iowa State players, all indications have been that everybody's playing. No one was really opting out. We had the one transfer portal guy, the D lineman, Onedum, or I don't know really how to say his name, number 88. And that's fine. That was known. He's not with the team. But Darian Porter and Jay Higgins warmed up and then sat. I don't like that. I don't know if it was their idea, coach's idea. Doesn't matter. It's not the way to do it. If you're going to opt out, opt out. It needs to be clear. And like the Big Ten does, the Big 12 needs to get with this, and it needs to be a college football rule. There needs to be availability. Come out 2 hours before the game, hour before the game. It doesn't matter when, but just before the game. Playing or not playing, in or out. You don't need to be specific. You don't need to do anything. You can say upper body injury if you want, but I don't think you even have to say that. Just, Jay Higgins not playing, Darian Porter not playing, Rocco Beck playing. I mean, that's all it needs to happen. And same thing. Now, Cam Ward and his situation is a little different. He did play, so I guess he would be in a playing situation and sit in the second half. But I do think that needs to be a thing that happens, and the Big Ten does have it right there, just like the NFL, just like every other. College sports are becoming professional sports, whether we all like it or not. That's the reality of it. It needs to be getting treated much more like it. The players are getting paid. They need to be more getting interviewed. The coaches shouldn't be able to control that as much. Coaches are losing power right now in college sports, and they're having trouble with that, and that's why a lot of them are retiring or changing, whatever. And, Matt Campbell's a great coach, does a lot of good things, but he is super, super secretive on injuries. Ben Bramer was supposed to play the next week, like 8 weeks ago, and he didn't play again. Now, his was an injury deal. He wasn't opting out or anything, but just much more forthright in who's playing and who's not playing should be happening. But awesome game. I want to, the weather was really good. Obviously Laura went with me and my dad, so it was the three of us there. And then talking a little bit, we sat by some people. Miami Hurricane fan Doug DeCock was on last week. I haven't talked to Doug since. He's on vacation now. The Miami fans are a different breed. They are not like Iowa State fans. I don't know. They're just different. Right, wrong, or indifferent. They stand up all the time. They cheer. They just they do things differently than Iowa people, and it showed. And it was just a weird mix of having those. Iowa State crowd, tip your hat, way more people than I thought were going to be there. A lot of Miami fans. Now, the stadium was not full. That's a big stadium. The entire upper deck was not no tickets were sold to that, and it wasn't full even down below, but it was better than I thought. We had really good seats. We were in the fourth row. Cam Ward is a big human being for being a quarterback. And watching Miami, they're a big physical, fast football team. They're good. Iowa State was very, very, lucky and did things really well for the most part on offense to keep up with Miami's offense. Miami had the number one offense in the country. For those of you who are saying, well, Iowa State's defense couldn't stop them at all, well, that's true. They played bad. They've not been good all year. I do think they need to take a look at a scheme or the personnel. I think the 3-3-5, with the way college football has evolved in the last 3 years, it was really, really good 6, 7, 8 years ago when they went to it, and it was real innovative. Now everybody runs a little bit of offshoot of it, but a lot of 4-2-5 looks are coming out more than the 3-3-5. And I just think there's a place for the 3-3-5, but you do need to get that fourth guy down there a little bit, unless you have a Will McDonald type player that Iowa State had, and that was able to get pressure because There was the one play where he was standing back there. I actually thought I missed a whistle. I thought the play was over because he was literally standing there, not moving, like the whistle had blown, the play was blown dead, and then he just flicked his arm and had a strike right on the play, running back out to the right. He had all day to throw, and that was a theme all year where quarterbacks had way too much time. And then he sat the second half, and their backup quarterback is nothing like him. Now, there's only one quarterback in the country like him, Shedeur Sanders. He's going to be a top 5-7 pick, and it showed. And just watching him play, and their running back is big and fast, and they're a very, very good football team, and Iowa State very, very lucky to get out of there with a win. 11 wins, school record number of wins, best season in school history, beating Miami. And here's what's crazy. That game doesn't matter in the big scheme of things, but next August, when preseason rankings come, they're going to see 11 wins. They're going to see beating, number 20 Miami in the bowl game or whatever it is. They beat Cam Ward and coming off, and they return a lot of players. It's going to help them in the preseason poll, and unfortunately that matters. And if you can have another year like you had this year where you're 7, 8, 9-0 or 8-1 and you're ranked 16th, well, if you start at number 21 instead of 16, maybe you're 13. And now you're in that playoff talk much more than you were this year. If you still have a loss or two, the one loss or two losses get you in. And we'll talk much more about that with Trevor tomorrow night. But just overall, great game, great, just great experience. It's always good to be around Cyclone fans. Was not the same as normal for me, and I'm going to get into that now. So Laura and I left Oskaloosa about 5 o'clock on Christmas night to head to Moline because we're going to fly out. Our flight leaves at like 8:50, I think, the 26th of December. So we're going to go up, stay all night in a hotel, so we don't have to get up at like 4 in the morning. Get to the. It's not a very big airport, so we'll get to the airport about 7 o'clock. Fly out, get to Florida about 1 o'clock. Then we're going to head to Daytona Beach for the day, and then drive up to Gainesville for the evening, stay in a hotel there, and then go help my parents at my uncle's house, clean out his house. So that's the plan. So we drive up. We notice just, we're going to stop and get something to eat somewhere along the road there, but everything's pretty much open in Oskaloosa. A few things are closed, but, Casey's are open, and we're like, we'll just stop and get something. And so we decided to go up. It's really no different. So we decided to go up just to the interstate and then over. So we go over to Whatcheer and up. And, the quick star there right at the on-ramp is open. And we drive. The stuff in Iowa City looks open. We're like, well, we're not really that hungry yet. We had a good Christmas dinner, everything. And so we get to the Walcott exit, the largest truck stop. Stuff's open there. Like, well, let's just get into the Quad Cities and over closer to the hotel, and we'll just get something to eat, and we'll just be done. Well, when you get there and you get close to the following MapQuest, I've been there, but I don't know the Quad Cities great, and I've been to the airport once, but I don't know it real well. So it has us get off this exit, and it's like a mile to the hotel, and it's okay. I'm like, well, there's stuff this way. Let's go left, and we drive by, and McDonald's is closed. I'm like, well, that's okay, and we go by, and there's a Casey's, but Quad Cities is just, it didn't look real. No, the Casey's was closed. Sorry, Casey's was closed. And then there's a little gas station there, and it's just not like a Casey's or Quick Star. So we're like, we're going to go buy it. So we just drive around a little bit, and just places that just where we are, I guess it must not have been the best part of town. I don't know. Quad City's great. So we decide to just drive around a little bit. And I'm like, well, let's just go kind of towards downtown. Surely some things are going to be open down there or whatever. Nope, nothing was open. A few places I don't really want to go to. Casino's open. Drive by a casino. I'm like, I'd rather not go in there. But I mean, if that's the last resort, we can. So we drive around and we're like, heck with it. We're just going to go back to the hotel. And surely they've got a few things you can buy or whatever. And we're not that hungry. Again, like I said, we had a good Christmas dinner. So we did a nice drive around the Quad Cities, up and down the Mississippi River. And so we get back and I'm like, I'm going to go one more exit. And then we go there and then we see, and there's a mall on the left-hand side. Now, malls aren't what they used to, and we understand that. Now it's probably 8:30 now. So it's definitely, things are closed, much more closed. So we drive around and there's nothing open. And all of a sudden, out of the corner of our eyes, we see a little open sign. And it's a restaurant. I can't tell what it is for sure. Chinese restaurant. So we are straight out of the Christmas Story. It's probably about 9:00 by the time we find this place, a Chinese place, and they were hopping. Not very many people in there, but a lot of DoorDash and people coming in just pick. And they were open. We went in, had a nice meal. It was good. I think it was good, and we're going to get to that in a little bit. So we have a decent meal there, and then we go back to the hotel, and alarm set for, I think, 5:50. Goes off. I look at my phone. Flight delayed. Day after Christmas, everybody knows around here, fog. Okay, so let's just say the flight gets now is moved to 10:30. Okay, not a big deal. So I don't sleep after that, so I kind of just dink around on my phone. I get another one. Now we're delayed to 12:30. Okay, still not too bad. It's probably 7:30 now. I've been up for a little bit. Another delay. We're not leaving until like 2:35 now. Okay, well that stinks, but is what it is. At least we're getting out today, and it is foggy. I'm not going to criticize that. It was foggy. Now, I will question this a little bit. You fly through clouds and everything where you can't see anything. I understand it's not, but they have navigation and they don't fly. I don't know, but it is what it is. So we're going to leave it at 2:30. Okay, so we get there. We have a shuttle from our hotel to the hotel. And so we had called down and we scheduled it. I think it was when it was still at 12:30. We said, like, well, we'll just get a shuttle at 10. So we had moved our shuttle to 10 o'clock. I'm like, well, now I got delayed again. Can we hit the shuttle like at noon? Well, they're not going to have anybody for the shuttle. So they're like, well, you got to go at 10 or now. We're not that far. We probably could have walked. And looking back, we should have. But we decided it'll be all right. We'll go there, watch a little TV. We'll go to the bar, have a couple drinks. No big deal. So we go ahead and go there at 10. Moline Airport is super small. We're already checked in on the flight. And we literally walk right through security. So let's say we're through security at 10:15. I mean, that's how fast this takes. A 5-minute drive and then a 5-minute walk up and a 2-minute get through security. And by the time we sit our seats at the bar, it's 10:15. So we got 4 hours before we fly out. Okay, no big deal. We hang out, whatever. Flight leaves at 2:30. We aren't 5 minutes into this flight, and we get the old, is there a doctor on board? We have a medical emergency. We do have a doctor on board. A couple nurses go back there. Now, we're in the middle of the plane. I really don't know what's going on, but you can just see by the faces on the flight attendants, it's not good. And I don't think we hit the top, and we left Moline, Illinois, and it's not going well for the guy. It ended up being a guy back behind us, and I don't know how old he was. He didn't look very old, but we're landing in Indianapolis. So obviously Moline, Indianapolis isn't that far. So you can see, we didn't travel very far before this decision was made. So we are making an emergency landing because of a medical emergency. again, we're in the middle of playing. He's way in the back, so I don't see anything really what's going on, but it's not good, and you can just see it. There's people crying. You can see it's not going well. So we land. Paramedics come on, and the guy comes on, and he kind of makes a joke, and he's like, always in the back, like kind of when he's right by us. And he did not realize, I think they were told that this guy had probably already died, and I think he had already died. This guy died. But they were still doing CPR. I don't know why, how, or just procedure, whatever. But they weren't going to do it anymore on the plane. So these two paramedics literally drag this guy because you can't get a gurney or anything between the seats, I guess. They carry/drag this guy that appears very, very not alive in front of the whole plane. And I don't know another way to do it. And it was not good. I mean, we're talking, we got kids on the plane. We're headed to Orlando. We got Disney people headed. We got Iowa State people. We got whatever. But this plane is full. It's the day after Christmas, and they carry/drag this guy in front of us. I don't know another way, but it is what it is. And so they get him off onto, the entrance ramp, whatever you want to call it. And we just sit there for a long time. And they haven't said a whole lot. And this is, I'm going to get in, and we flew Allegiant. Kind of make fun of Allegiant a lot, but it's a nonstop flight to Florida. I use it quite a bit when I go to Florida, or it's the only thing I use when I go to Florida for the most part. But they didn't do this well, I don't think. Not all their fault, but communication definitely could have happened better. So we sit there for quite a while, and we're all wondering, are we going to go on? Are they going to take care of this guy, whatever, and then are we just going to be able to take off and go? Well, it becomes very clear to us that that's not happening. They're going to have us get off. And as soon as I heard we're going to deboard the plane, I knew this was going to be a long situation. Now, I didn't know if they just needed to do some stuff to the plane, give everybody some time, whatever. So this is probably, when we get off the plane, it's probably 6:30. So we get off the plane, and they tell us not to go anywhere. They get us there, and we're kind of in this one area there. They tell us really not to go anywhere because they got to give us announcements and stuff, which is very true. And they announced something that they got to get a different crew. Now, I don't know the reason for this. One, if the crew just couldn't handle it, because they had went through dramatic stuff. I have no doubt in my mind. A couple of them looked really young, and they were not handling it well. And I don't know if it was because of that or if it was hours or landing. I don't know the reason. It doesn't matter the reason. We got to find a new crew. So now we've got a plane, but no crew. So we get told they're trying to find a crew. They think it'll be around 8 o'clock when the crew gets here, and we'll take off after. I'm like, that's pretty good. I mean, this is an emergency situation. No one's fault. If we get out here a little after 8 o'clock, it's not too bad. And we had already lost our hour. So, I mean, Indianapolis is an Eastern time zone. I'm like, that gets us there at 10:30. Well, we're not going to go to Daytona. We'll just get up and go to Gainesville. Well, we sit there and we sit there and we sit there, and time keeps ticking. And finally they get on and say, I think it's going to be 10:30. Okay. That's still not horrible, but we're getting later. And they give us boarding passes. They give us some food vouchers, everything, but not a lot of communication. And along this whole time, the only thing we got on our, on the app and everything, where it said the delays and everything, was flight canceled. Nothing about a new flight, nothing about anything. And that just made me wonder. And we're sitting next to this other couple, and we're kind of talking, and you know how it is. You're just small talking, and everybody's talking about the situation we would win in. And the doctor was walking around and, not talking to anybody, but just Like, that would have really sucked. You're headed on vacation. You're not trying to work and just, but thankfully tried. And there's, the nurses were helping, and they were just walking around with their families or whatever. And it's like, man, that would have sucked to have to do that. But thankfully they did and everything. But we get no word. And then finally, I think somebody goes up and says, what is happening? And finally we get word that they are flying an empty plane from Orlando up to Indianapolis. For some reason, our plane, I don't know if they needed to, I don't know. But all of a sudden, they're flying a new plane up from Orlando to get us. Well, that's a 2.5 hour flight. So now it's probably 10 o'clock. So now it's not going to get there until after midnight. By the time they turn around, get it, whatever, we're not leaving till 1 o'clock. Well, still not ideal. Now everything's closing there's nothing to do in this airport either, because everything's closed. It's 9:30, 10 o'clock now. So now it's just sit and wait. Well, it finally does come. We get on the plane, and this is the worst part of the whole thing. They give us new boarding passes and with our food voucher and everything. We all go back through. We all get on the plane, and they can, for whatever reason, they cannot get the count right. We're sitting by a lady that said, well, she heard one couple say they were out. They went and got a hotel, and they just were going to do a different deal. And so they call these names, and one person raised their hand because for some reason there's whatever. And then this couple they couldn't find. And then there was this one guy they couldn't find. So there's 3 people unaccounted for or whatever. But I'm like, if they didn't, those people wouldn't have got their numbers. So they literally roll call us, and it's 2 o'clock in the morning now. They are calling every single person's name that's on this flight. And they called my name, they called Laura's name, and so it's like every day at school, Johnny, Susie, and you had to raise your hand. And we are all not happy, and I feel bad for this crew, but they keep calling for this one guy. Now, I really don't think it was, but it made people think that they were looking for the guy that died. Like everybody's looking around. I mean, we're one person. We're supposed to be one person short. Like, that's why we're here. We didn't just randomly get into Indianapolis for no reason. Now, I really hope that wasn't it. If that was really it, I'm really disappointed in Allegiant. And I'm really disappointed in Allegiant anyway. We never got any word out of Allegiant. We never got an email. We never got a text. We never got anything on our app about anything on this flight or anything. I still haven't. So we finally take off. We get back. And so when we're in Indianapolis, I have a hotel room in Gainesville, which is about a little over 2 hours from Orlando. That's where my parents are. They had a hotel room for us. Well, I tell my dad, I go, when we get there, I'm not going to want to drive 2 hours up to Gainesville. So if you could cancel it, the hotel room, go ahead, and then I'll just get a room in Orlando by the airport, and then we'll just come up in the morning. This is still when I was thinking we're going to land at midnight, 2 o'clock in the morning. So he goes down and gets it, and Marriott was awesome. Yeah, they're just going to credit us, and unfortunately, my mom and dad have spent way too many weeks in Florida in the last month and a half, so they're used to them there, and they've spent a lot of money at that same hotel in Gainesville in the last month. So they did credit. They'd already checked in and everything, so they credited it. They couldn't cancel it, but they credited the night. So then I got on my app and I booked a hotel room, and I checked in and everything just because it was getting late. It was like 10 o'clock, and I'm like, well, you got to check in, so at least I'll have the room, because I was just afraid. I didn't know when we were going to get in. I checked in. I said we'd be there like at 2 a.m. We don't leave Indianapolis till 2 a.m., so you can imagine what time I actually got there. We got into the hotel room at 5:03 a.m. We walk in, and They're like, good morning. And I'm like, yeah, we're here to check in. He's like, what? I'm like, yeah, you should have us. We've had a heck of a day. We just got in. Supposed to be here yesterday afternoon, but we're just here now. So they're great. They get us a room. And, now my dad wants us in Gainesville at my uncle's place at 9:00. I'm like, Dad, we'll do our best. So we I think I set the alarm for 7:30. Get up and around, and then we get up and we eat breakfast, and then we get up to Gainesville about 10:30. So obviously we're very tired. It was a long day, but we're there to help my parents clean out a house. So that's where we're going there. We go up there, we do it, and we're probably there an hour or so. We get stuff done, and I start not feeling good. Just my gut, and then it hit hard. And I'll be honest, I've never been so sick in my life for the next 12 hours. I'm guessing it's something I ate in the airport or maybe that breakfast, but I bet I threw up 10 times the next 12 hours. Went back to the hotel room, threw up a couple times, and I slept. And I woke up, threw up some more, and I slept. Now we got to imagine, so this is Friday, bowl games at 3:30 on Saturday. And I had the big plans of getting up at 7:00 in the morning, head down to Orlando. They've got a pregame celebration to go to the game and everything. And I wake up probably about 7:00, and I feel better. I mean, so that's where I don't think it was the flu, because once I got everything out, I felt okay. I'm not going to say I was perfect, but I felt okay. I'm like, so we don't leave. We literally just drive down to the game. We get there probably about 1:00, 1:30. Game's at 3:30. We have parking pass and everything, so we get into the game. Obviously Connor Moberly's the backup quarterback family was on that flight. We saw them when we got into the stadium, talked to them for a few minutes, and we walk around a little bit, and then I'm just like, I got to go sit. And obviously, I'm not feeling great. I'm not awful, but I'm not eating or drinking anything. And so I'm like, I just need to go sit. So we do. And it's getting a little bit closer to the game. Pop Tarts are starting to make a big deal. And these people that we had talked to, they were going down to the Iowa State game as well. We were sitting in the Indianapolis airport. They sit right in front of us. It couldn't be any crazier. So we talked to them, obviously, all game and everything. It was great. They're great people from just north of Cedar Rapids. It was fun. It's a small world and craziness. And they were flying out the next morning. We didn't come back till Tuesday. We got back yesterday. And but just crazy 24, 48 hours after Christmas. It's just amazing the amount of things that are not open / closed. And I know it's holiday time, and I know and again, like I said, with Allegiant, still have not heard. They sent the survey the day after, filled that out, and kind of said all this kind of the stuff I've said to you, and just disappointed in the communication and everything. And I still haven't heard anything back from Allegiant, and I'm disappointed in that, but I guess it is what it is. But yeah, so from Christmas Eve night to the bowl game, that about 3:30 was just not good for the old Morgan You Asked For podcast travel. And thanks for listening. Caps Chronicles is what I'm going to call this one. The travel woes. But then after that, felt better. This is a trip where I would have drank quite a bit of beer, would have had a great time, but it was just limited beer, limited drink, limited food the whole time, just worried. It wasn't that I felt bad after that, but you're just kind of worried that you don't want to eat too much or do anything. But we did get the house cleaned out kind of a day earlier than we thought, so we were able to go spend the the 30th at Daytona Beach and walk along the beach and the ocean and everything. And so that was cool, and able to spend a little bit of time there, and then flew home everything but normal, got back yesterday. And then obviously watched the bowl games today. Arizona State gave one heck of a fight. They had a chance, but Texas pulled it out, and then Ohio State just absolutely put Oregon to the woodshed. And then, as we talked about, the Sugar Bowl is again been moved to tomorrow. Watch that, and then Trev and I should be back tomorrow afternoon after that game to do a review of the playoff games and talk about next week's playoff games and just normal Morgan Asked For podcast. But again, thanks everybody for listening. Thanks for listening to my Caps Chronicles, Caps Gripes, whatever you want to call it today. But hope everybody had a great holiday. Most people got to go back to work tomorrow. I don't have to go back to work tomorrow, but I do go back to work on Friday, which is kind of weird. But we have a professional development day, and then kids come back the 6th. But I will be going to the Baylor game, Iowa State Baylor game Saturday, 25th anniversary of the 2000 team, which makes me feel really old. I was right in the middle of college. Going to see people I went to classes with, went to different Iowa State athletic functions and saw them in the training room. Pfizer, Tinsley, Larry Eustace, Paul Shirley, Cantrell Horton. I'll be good to see some of those guys and cheer them on. But can't believe it's been 25 years. That's the crazy part about it. But again, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And we'll hopefully talk to you tomorrow night.